This is the Average to Savage podcast with Paul Guarino. Everyone and anyone, athletes, celebs, and much more.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Average Savage podcast. Our special guest today is Jess Fishlock. Jess, how's it going?
It's good. How are you?
Good. I always want to say fish locker for some reason.
I think for a whole game, an American commentator actually called me fish locker.
Well,
yeah, it got a lot of traction on Twitter. Actually,
that's pretty funny. I don't know. Maybe I don't know why. But what about just going into like this season? Like, how's it been? Just dealing with obviously the whole COVID. I know you started over here in the U.S. and then you got loaned out.
It's been a bit of a surreal kind of year. I think it's difficult for athletes, especially. I mean, it's difficult for everyone, of course. But I mean, if you're looking at the rain, for example, when we went into this year, we were so excited about what it would bring and what we could do. And then obviously, it's not that the season gets sidelined because obviously we had the Challenge Cup and the Fall Series, but I wouldn't be lying. I would be lying if I didn't say that it's not the same as a regular season. It's not the same as playing the 25 games or 24 games and getting a feel of how the team grows, how it progresses, and so I don't think that we really were able to do anything this year, and I think that's really quite sad for us as a group.
Yeah. Well, on the flip side, I know the NWSL had great numbers. They just came out with I think it was like 500% up.
Yeah.
So what's your feeling on that?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think it's amazing. I think Lisa, the commissioner, and the league itself did a fabulous job at kind of promoting the Challenge Cup really like we did. And I think also, as coming back and playing and being the first pro league to come back in America really helped that, because I think at that point, people have been in lockdown for a while and probably watch, they would watch something new, if that makes sense. And so for those kind of audiences that perhaps wouldn't have watched female football or female soccer before, being in lockdown, it kind of give them more of a reason to. And I think we've always said in the women's game and women athletes in general that once you get somebody to watch, they very often come back. It's just getting them to initially go, okay, yeah, I'm gonna watch women's sports.
Yeah. I think also just like it being a tournament style and like the MLS doing the same thing. I think people just like that thrill of the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've said, obviously I'm from the UK and we have cups over here for like everything. And I've said since I've been in America that they need to somehow get a cup going, because it's exciting, and we all know that Americans, they just love excitement. They really buy into it.
Yeah. Even me as just like a fan, like, I mean, I obviously know when like the seasons go around, but like when it was like a tournament, I was like more inclined to watch it.
Yeah, I think you follow it a little bit more. You get more involved in it, because it's like shorter and you can follow it for like 2-3 weeks rather than an 8-9 month scenario.
Yeah. And then I know you guys were in Utah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was it like in that bubble?
Yeah, not going to lie to you, it's pretty bad. We obviously left Seattle earlier, went to Montana for a month prior to also Utah for a month. And, living in hotels is fun for a little while. And then when it gets to 2 to 3 months long, it gets pretty repetitive. But look, our club Seattle did everything that they could possibly do to try and get us to feel as comfortable as we could. But I think just the whole kind of bubble life is it's difficult.
Yeah. So it was just like go to hotel, practice, go home, go to game, go practice, that's it?
Yeah, literally we were only allowed on our floor. We weren't allowed to leave our floor. We weren't really allowed to interact in other people's rooms. We could leave it to go and eat. That would get delivered to the hotel for us. So it would just be like whatever was on the menu. We would only leave the hotel to train, and then we'd have to get straight back into the hotel and into the floor. And that was it for like 2 months, basically. Which, is, it's tough. I'm not going to be here and be like, well, being a professional athlete is so hard, but, it's not all glamorous either.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then I know you got loaned out, and I know you've been loaned out several times. So, especially now, what was the feeling like now? Just like, you were getting used to the new quote unquote normal here, and then you had to go back.
Yeah, you know what? I was really thankful for the rain, actually, to allow me to be loaned out, because I'm back home, obviously I'm from Wales, so it's nice to be home for a long period of time. And I'd love to say that it's very different here, but it's not. The virus is also over in Europe, and right now we're going through a huge second wave, so we're all in lockdown again. But we're still playing, so we are exempt from lockdown as an elite athlete. So we continue to train during the day, obviously, and then play our games and get tested regularly.
I want to go back a little bit too, just like how did you just start playing soccer?
How did I start playing soccer? Funny story, actually. I always tell this story, no one can believe it. I'm one of 6 kids, so I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers. So obviously when we were growing up, and holidays, like summer holidays, for example, it was hard for me, Ma, naturally, because she's got 6 kids, and so wants to go to, I don't know, one camp, and somebody else wants to go to another camp. So the way that we kind of worked was that the older one got to choose, basically. And I wasn't the oldest one, so I never really could do an awful lot that I wanted. But my older sister, thankfully, wanted to go to a Meerham soccer camp, believe it or not. And so my mom was like, well, Catherine's going there, so you're just going to have to go because I can't take you anywhere else. So I was like, okay, it's fine. And I went there, and honest to God, I just fell in love with football. Like my mum said, obviously I don't have like vivid memories of it, but my mum said that once I came back, like that was it. I never left football alone. And she still has a photo from the paper that I was in like that day from the Meerham camp when I was 7. And I think if you look at that photo, you'll see just how much I kind of fell in love with the game. And then, my sister hated it and never went back. But I just from that moment never stopped. And then I have 2 older brothers, and I just played with them like all the time, pretty much, and with boys teams, and then my local team, and then just went through all the pathways and the processes to get to where I am.
So was that camp in Wales?
Yeah.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I don't know how a Meerham camp got anywhere near Wales, but it did.
But I mean, that's dope. That's how big she is.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Yeah, I know. It is great. It was great.
What about just growing up in Wales? Like, did you play any other sports growing up?
I did actually. I was a very avid sports person. I played hockey, cricket, rugby, basketball. I mean, not really basketball, but I played it a little bit. Swimming. I did swimming, badminton. I did a lot of sports. I played cricket and rugby for a long time. I think there was a little bit of a toss-up between whether I was going to go into cricket or go into football. My mum always says that I was better at cricket than I am at football. And then she tried to get me to go that way, but it was always going to be football for me, I think.
What about, like, when did you know you were, like, really good and you could be a pro?
I think I always knew that when I was younger, like 12, 13, that I was a little bit different, if that makes sense, that it wasn't just like a hobby and I wasn't just playing it on the weekend for fun, that it was something that I really, really wanted. And obviously coaches at that age often can tell, you know, who's got the chance of making it or whatever, as they say, if you continue on that development. But I think I was like 15, 16 when I personally decided that I was going to sacrifice whatever I needed to sacrifice to get to wherever I wanted to. And so I dropped out of school and got a full-time job to pay for everything, and kind of just, to be honest, put all my eggs in one basket. It was probably a pretty big risk at the time, but you know, I just knew that that's what I wanted to do, so that's what I had to do.
Okay, when you say you left school, what grade was this?
A high school, so I was like 16, I think. I went and got a full-time job. Yeah. I tell this story in America and everyone almost falls over.
Wait, so you didn't finish high school?
I got my grades, my GCSEs, which I don't know what you call them. But yeah, I dropped out at 16.
So that doesn't, I don't know.
You don't know what to say. I know. I get this all the time. In America, sometimes
my brain's not connecting.
Yeah. The rain, when I first got to America, the first year, the rain sent me to do a talk to kids going to college. And obviously, like, no one knows much about our system. So they were like, oh, you know, what did you do in university? And I was with one of my very good friends now, and I started laughing, and I was like, I can't really answer that question because I dropped out of school when I was 16. And my friend next to me was like, you can't say that here. I was like, okay. I was like, I finished school, but I didn't go to college. Or the way that the system works here is you're in school till you're 16, and then you get 2 years between 16 and 18, which we call college. And then you go from 18 to whatever, then like 24 or 26, whatever you're studying, to go to university. So it's slightly different. Back when I was growing up, you had a choice of whether you wanted to continue education at 16, but I think now that's 18. I'm not sure though.
Gotcha. So all right, so then like on the flip side, what did you do to just like educate yourself on different like sorts of things? You just use the internet?
You know, it depends on kind of what part of life I'm going in, right? So yeah, the reality is, if I actually think that I probably learned more about life by living in, I mean, I was 16 and I'd get this paycheck and I'd have to deal with my taxes or deal with, you know, paying rent or bills and things like that at 16, you know. And I think when you realize that, and you realize about going to work and punctuality and dealing with managers or dealing with colleagues or dealing with like problems, you know, I ended up living that life very, very young. And I think that I learned a lot of how life actually works, like the real world, when I was still a teenager. And I think that, you know, growing up and then obviously becoming a professional athlete and living in loads of different countries, you know, I've lived in Holland, Germany, France, Australia, America, the UK. You learn about different cultures and how they work and how they survive and what works for them. And, you know, I think in truth, I've never really, you know, gone online and looked up educational things. I've just learned it through conversation and you know, topics and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, also just saying, you know, that seems better anyways, because, you know, a lot of kids graduate college over here and then have no idea what to do with their lives anyways. So
I mean, I didn't want to say that, but
I'll say it for you. So yeah. So, and then how was it just being like you were a pro at 16, and then just obviously I'm assuming you had a lot of older teammates.
Yeah, well, I didn't turn pro till I was 19, so I was still kind of semi-pro and then working full-time and then also playing for my U19 national team and my Welsh senior team at that point. So to be honest with you, I don't even think education would have worked with my schedule.
Yeah.
But in those kind of 3 years of working full time and playing for U19 and playing for my senior team and then playing part time for my club, I didn't have a lot of time to do anything else. But once I turned pro then and moved to Holland to live for 3 years, I learned a completely different life then. I was in the locker room with, girls that had been pro and girls that don't speak any English and a different kind of culture. And, when you grow up, like you'll say you grow up in America, also I grew up in the UK, until, I don't know, you leave and go for college or you leave to go anywhere, you live in a bubble, right? Like a really kind of a bubble that is just, I often think, and I always say it's not really quite real. You can make that bubble whatever you want of it, but it really doesn't replicate life at all. And when I went to Holland, I really kind of was made aware of what kind of life outside of the UK or outside of Wales, outside of my little bubble. And it was a tough transition. It was really difficult the first 6 months. But after that, I kind of never looked back, and I've really enjoyed that kind of life.
All right, you got to tell me, what was your job those 3 years?
I was a data analyst for a big kind of phone company,
Okay.
mobile phone. Basically, I was just on computers all the time and then speaking to people that had problems with the way our service was going, and I just winged it. I winged it for 3 years. I've no idea what I did the whole time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just want people to know that, like, I mean, everybody always has some kind of, startup job, and then you get.
Well, my actual first job was Burger King. So there you go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had to get my little weekend money.
Oh, man. Well, yeah. Well, were you the cook?
No, I wasn't, but I ended up getting the sack because I was giving away free food to homeless people. I got caught, and I was like, well, there we go. I'm not even apologizing for it, because we waste so much food here, and these poor people are just like freezing cold and hungry. So whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So I know you, like you said, you mentioned you played all around. What made you come to the U.S.?
Well, the USA notoriously has always been the best league in the world for women's soccer. And when I was growing up, it was definitely something that you wanted to go and do. If you went over and you were able to play in America, then kind of meant 9 times out of 10 that you were pretty good. So it was kind of a dream, really, to get the opportunity to play there and kind of show my talent, but also show that, like, a little girl from Wales can make it big time, and kind of I don't know, like, let other people in Wales, other little girls in Wales, know that, there's things out there and you can dream big, and that was something for me that I really wanted to do. And so when the opportunity came, I didn't even think about it. I think I would have done it for free, to be honest.
Oh, well, that's kind of funny, because, like, I think the opposite. Like, I feel like if an American goes, like, overseas, then like they quote unquote made it.
Yeah, I think that is the outlook, especially in the men's game, which I
Yeah.
understand. But the women's game, it's the opposite, because the women's game in America is massive. It's huge. But also the women's national team in America is probably the most successful team in the world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then I know I already touched on it, but, like, what does it feel like to get, like, loaned out? Is that, like, a good feeling or, like, a bad feeling, or mixed?
No, it depends where the loan idea comes from, I guess. But my loans have always been something that I've wanted to do personally.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, Seattle have always been a club that understand kind of those bigger pictures. And when our league was first starting, it was kind of a relatively short league. It only ran for like 6-7 months. And when you're an international player, we we have games all the time throughout the year, and you just couldn't afford to have 5 months off, really. And so that was why it came around initially. I was not going to go on loan this year at all. I kind of only had to last minute because of the COVID situation and coming back from injury and needing to play games.
Yeah, I got you. What about so can you say no to a loan or no?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wasn't sure.
You can, and sometimes the club will want to loan you out even if you don't want to go. The club can say, "Oh, I think maybe we'll put you on loan so you get some game time, etc., etc." So often it's younger players that get to go on loan, but in the women's game, it's real different from the men's game. It's kind of people do it because they have a chance to win something, or for me, for example, and everyone that's on loan right now from the NWSL, it's mostly because of COVID and the need to play games.
Gotcha. And then I saw that you were a player coach a couple years. How did that come about?
Well, I'm doing my badges. So there's my bit of education there. I'm doing my coaching badges, going back to school. And so I actually was supposed to be a player assistant coach. That was what was supposed to happen. So I could learn whilst I was on loan, the coaching side of it and get a little bit of experience there. But, it didn't quite go that way. And the head coach went over to be an assistant coach for the men's club. And so I ended up being the coach and the manager whilst playing. And I would never recommend that ever again to anybody in the entire world.
But is that what you want to do post-career? You want to be a coach?
For a very, very, very long time, I thought that it was something that I really wanted to do. But I think as time has gone on and I've got a bit older, I don't know. I think I kind of want to go into a little bit of politics, maybe, actually. But we'll see. I think I'd like to come back home and do some politics in Wales, but I don't know how that would work, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't know what politics looks like in Wales, but I would not be in no politics in the U.S.
I can assure you I would never do that either.
And then what about just playing for your national team? What does that mean to you?
Oh, everything. I would trade in my whole club career, my trophies. I would trade it all in to go to a major tournament with my country. In a heartbeat.
Yeah. Then what about? I know you got named. I think how many times? 4 times one of the best players in the NWSL. What did that mean to you?
It was special, actually. It was special because you get voted by that through other teams' coaches and players, and so you kind of know that you've done all right. And that's always nice. I think I was lucky, and I'm still very lucky to be a part of the Reign. And we've had some really, really successful times, and it's been one of the kind of highlights of my career, being a part of that group of players. And so I love playing for the Reign, and I love the NWSL, and I'm lucky enough to have a pretty good career there. And so here's to hoping it happens over the next couple of years as well.
Yeah. What else do you want to see? Obviously we just talked about the numbers before. What else do you want to see grow in the NWSL?
I want to see. I think I want to see a little bit of squad depth grow. I want to see more Europeans coming over, or more kind of players coming into the league. Definitely. I want to see the media and that kind of be a little bit more fair with, yes, the American players in the league are great, but the national players are great, but the league is actually made up of very, very, very good players overall, whether they're USA national team players, whether they're from Europe, or they're from Australia, whether they just come out of college. I think the only way the league grows more is if the media and everybody doesn't just focus on like 12 players. But completely understand that like the USA national team is what will bring people in to watch the game. So it's kind of like a catch-22. But yeah, other than that, I think it's actually grown really well. I think our new commissioner, Lisa, has been phenomenal in her job role, what she's done with regards to her job. You know, we had our old commissioner probably wasn't as proactive, and I think we kind of missed the boats there. But, you know, we've managed to grow at a time where you would imagine that we wouldn't, and I think that's very promising.
Yeah. Well, I'd say your team is doing very good at social media because that's how we got linked up.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, like what do you like? Oh yeah, why did they change the name? Seattle.
Because the Reign, well, Seattle Reign, has now been kind of bought by Olympique Lyon from France. And so they're kind of like sister clubs. And so that happened last year. And so obviously they had to merge the two.
So a French team owns the Reign.
A really big club, actually. In the men's game, and well, actually in the women's game, OL are probably the most successful club team in the world.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and so they bought us out, I think, because they want to build the same kind of product in America. So we had to change the name and the badge, but I love it. I think it's great. I actually played for OL. I went on loan there. And they're incredible. The people that run the club are incredible. The group is great. And I think in the next kind of 2 to 5 years, you'll see a massive growth within our club.
Yeah. I mean, see, I had no idea. That's crazy. And that's why, like, the overseas soccer, like, I get it, but I don't fully understand it still.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's why even when I remember I didn't even know, because I remember like looking you up stuff, like I didn't even know you had like the national games like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, because I was looking it up and I was just like, oh, she doesn't have any games this week. But then I saw that you posted and I was like, oh, the national team though.
Yeah, it's really quite hard for people to understand with the national team and that in America, because it's so different. Even our like European FIFA and UEFA are so different from CONCACAF. So like I completely understand that, you know, because if you asked anybody over here about CONCACAF, they'd have no clue.
Yeah. All right, you got to tell me about this most excellent order of the British Empire that you got.
Yeah,
now you got the little thing next to your name.
Yeah, I do. I know. Basically, obviously we're governed by sovereignty and the king and queen, and every year they select a handful of people to kind of be recognized by the empire, the British Empire, of kind of excellence almost, and you become a part of the British Empire. And so someone nominated me, I still don't know who that was, for my services to women's football and to the LGBTQ community, because I do a lot of work for that. And so, yeah, the royal family kind of gave me a cute little badge and said, well done, Jessica. And I said, thank you very much.
Wait, so was this like a whole ceremony or what?
Yeah, I went to Buckingham Palace and last Christmas actually, and not last Christmas, the Christmas before, and yeah, I got my little pin.
So like how? Tell me, like how like elite is that?
Very, very elite. Yeah, I don't think it gets more elite, to be honest with you,
right.
Unless I become like a dame, pretty much.
Okay, so does everybody? So does like everybody know you in Wales?
I think a lot of people do. Yeah, not just, and I think for me, it's not just about football. I do a lot of community work. You know, I just I kind of love my country. Like I really am patriotic, and in not in a way where I'm like blinded to things that need to get better. But I don't just want to be somebody that is like, oh, Wales needs to be like this or it needs to be better, and then not help that grow. Because I just don't want to be that person. So I do a lot, in the community and in my local community. Like I said, in the LGBT community with youth soccer, and I just want young people in Wales to be able to, grow, I guess.
Yeah. So what? What? Because I don't know personally, but what
Mm-hmm.
have you done for the LGBT community?
I think I came out. I don't know when, 5 years ago maybe, publicly, like via the media, to kind of just start to be visible in our country, for obviously youth. And then I also did what did I do? An interview and some work. I do a lot of work for the communities anyway, and like with the youth kind of community centres, etc., raise money for hostels that hold LGBTQ youth that are often abandoned. I came out and did a interview that kind of changed the way that schools kind of run in Wales, because I said that when I was in school, it was hell, and it was. School for me was horrible because I was in a school that still had like segregated like stairs. So like girls go in one stair, boys go in another stair. You can't go anywhere. I couldn't play football. I couldn't play any sports apart from like gym and dance, which is so stereotypical. It's unbelievable. And it just wasn't a place for me where I could help find myself. Like obviously like your teenage years are like the hardest years of your life anyway, and you're trying to be okay in life. And then obviously I'm gay, and I know that I'm gay, but there's nowhere in the world, nowhere in society for me to be. And school was like the complete opposite of that, if that makes sense. And so I came out and did a big article about how, I think school shouldn't be like that for any student, let alone like someone who's gay. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're gay or whether you're, a little bit geeky or nerdy, or, I mean, there should always be, school should be a safe place for whoever you are, whether you're an artist, like sometimes people don't understand artists. And, I think, and that actually, like, it changed the law here in Wales, because that went really big, and schools often were like, okay, well, we need to look at that, if that makes sense. So I've just done a lot of work in about the visibility of LGBTQ, and that it's okay, and where to go if you don't feel safe, or what to do if your family is struggling. You know what I mean? Like just a lot of things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what advice would you give to a player trying to make a pro league?
My advice would be that, like, one, you have to enjoy it, right? Like, you have to enjoy what you do. I think anyone kind of knows that. So don't ever lose your love for the game. But also kind of alongside that, listen, work hard, have a really good work ethic, and be a good teammate. Like, be a really good teammate, and often those things will get you a lot further than you think.
All right. Are you ready for some fun questions? Or go from
Yeah, I am. Yeah, let's go.
What's your favorite song right now?
Ooh, great question. I'm gonna go with Khalid and 100.
All right. I think I might know it. I'm not sure. I don't know its song title. I just listen to it usually.
Yeah, it's good.
Who would you want to do a jersey exchange with that you haven't done with yet?
Jersey exchange. Oh wow. Far out. That's a great question.
Do you guys do that during the national games?
Not really.
Yeah, you don't want the national jersey of the other player.
Nah. What jersey exchange would I want? This is a great question. I actually have so many good jerseys from just the people that I love.
Yeah, tell me which ones you have.
I have Wendy Renard, Eugenie Le Sommers. I have Pino shirt, a Naho Kawasumi shirt, a Lulu Barnes shirt, naturally. Those people for me, I'd like truly just love. A Kim Little shirt. She's my gal. But when I think about one that I would have now, or one that I would love in my wall, I would go and get an old retro Man United shirt and ask Eric Cantona to sign it. That's what I would do.
All right. What about who was your favorite player growing up?
Eric Cantona.
All right. So you never got to meet him?
No. He was a very kind of different, eccentric player for United. He was unbelievable. He changed their history, really. They got United and they got Cantona and they just started winning and winning and winning. But he was also a little bit different, like he couldn't play for his national team, didn't have like an overly great attitude. He was like a like an Ibrahimovic almost, only he was even better.
Yeah, I gotcha. What about, has anybody ever asked you for your jersey and you were just like surprised?
Yeah, I think I'm always a little bit surprised when someone wants my jersey. Mm-hmm. It's always nice when people come up to you and specifically ask for your jersey. So every kind of time, it's always puts a smile on my face.
What is it protocol to ask before or after?
After.
Yeah. What about what do you like to do in your free time?
Drink an obscene amount of coffee.
Oh, I thought you were about to say something else.
And whiskey. You can put that in there as well. And I like going out for brunches and stuff. I love going to gigs. But
what do you mean gigs? Like concerts?
Concerts. Sorry, yeah. I went to like 3. I went to Khalid, Sam Smith, and Elton John last year, and I loved it. Yeah.
What about what's your favorite American food?
Oh, it's got to be hot wings.
All right. If I went to Wales, what would I have to try there, food-wise?
If you went to Wales, you need to try our lamb. It's bloody lovely.
Lamb?
A lamb Sunday roast. My ma would make you if you came here, and I promise you'd never leave. On swear to God.
How about that? I never had lamb.
Oh, that's great. Well, there we go. There we go. When you've never had lamb, and Welsh lamb is even better than normal lamb.
All right. What's something people don't know about you?
People don't know about me. I love serial killers, basically. And what I mean by that is, I'm not like their friend, of course, but serial killers fascinate me.
Oh, you like
Have you seen Mindhunter and all that? I binge those in my spare time as well. So I think that's something a little bit different.
All right, so I asked you a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, what? How did you get on the hype? Why did you get on the hype? What kind of got you into OL Reign, and why did you stay and that kind of stuff?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I work with a lot of WNBA players.
Okay.
And I was, and just throughout the years, instead of going into the quote unquote major sports, I was working with I work with a lot of MMA and boxing guys.
Oh, nice.
So then it was just and then women's basketball became a niche, and I was let me check out women's soccer. So I tweeted all the teams, and your team tweeted me back.
Go Rain!
So there you go. That's why I said they got the best social media.
Yeah, there we go. Easily swayed, some might say.
Yeah. So that's the key for teams out there. They should be more active on social media.
Be active. Yeah, it is true. It's very true.
What about stuff like that? Are you like big? I know since you're quote unquote a little older, like, so how is social media like impacted, like, because I'm sure it wasn't even a thing when you first started. Like, how has that impacted like your career and like built up sports in general?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I actually think there's a lot of pros and cons to it. Obviously, the pros of it is, visibility and connection, like you said, and being active and getting more views, getting more likes, getting people to engage in your club, which will then sell tickets. And, it's kind of the same for an athlete as well. Like, you can really put your brand out there, and then that helps with sponsors, etc., etc. But on the flip side of that, I think everybody knows about online abuse and kind of trolling and that side of it. And also, I think it's really hard for youngsters now. It's easier because I never grew up with it. So it's just something that's come in that I can use as and when I want to, if that makes sense. But I think with the younger generation, they grew up with it, and it's really hard for them to not allow it to define them. And I think that is a very difficult thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think in a negative way too, like when it's athletes in general and they, put out these highlight tapes and they get like millions of followers, and then it's just like it's not good for their mental, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Last one, I just thought about it. Like, have you ever had any crazy fan moments where they like ran up on you?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually was out here when I first came over with my sister, and we were out just in Wales, just having like having a boozy brunch, and we were just in the middle of town, just necking the gins, and one guy like walked past and literally almost like jumped over the little fence barricade that we were in when we were sat outside. I was like, oh my God, are you Jess Fishlock? Oh my God. And I'm just there like half drunk in the middle of the day with my sister, thinking there's no way in hell anybody is going to see me here trying to, and then my sister just looking at me going, oh my fucking God. And I'm like I can't obviously say no, but I'm obviously here with these drinks, half drunk on like, I don't know, a Monday afternoon or something. I was like, this is the worst possible thing that's happening right now. But I had to say yes. And they were like, oh, it's great. I can't believe it. Can I get a photo and all that? But it was funny. Like when he left, I was like, right, we've got to go because I can't be seen out drinking in the middle of the day.
So you are like famous in Wales.
Well, that was yeah.
What about in the US? Has anything happened?
Yeah, in Seattle, I'll walk through.
Does it ever get annoying?
I don't think I'm not going to say it ever gets annoying, but sometimes it's just when you want to just enjoy your drink or enjoy your food and stuff like that. You kind of just want to do that, but I mean it's not. I would never say it's annoying because often you're alongside like kids as well, and you never really want to get annoyed at that. Yeah,
for sure. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and could you let the listeners know where to follow you on social media?
Yes. My Instagram is at Jess Fishlock. My Twitter is at Jess Fishlock. And those are the only two I use. I use nothing else.
No TikTok?
No TikTok. No TikTok. No.